Hi everyone. I have here the text of Genesis 1:31, and I want to show you how this text tells us when the Almighty stopped creating. I'm going to start with the King James here, and we will make some corrections here. And it was so. Wayehi. This is a wav consecutive, so we correct this. Then it is so. This is what the text says after he has completed all of his creation on the day part of the sixth day. Then it is so. This is another wav consecutive, and we will translate God the Almighty. Then the Almighty sees. Again, we're using the present tense, is, sees, because the verbs are in the imperfect tense, which is a continuative or durative sense, and is covered by the English present progressive or the English present tense. You can see this if you look at Young's literal translation and understand the archaic English. There, he uses the present tense. Then the Almighty seeth everything that he had made. This is correctly translated. Asa, perfect tense, represented by the English word had. Another wav conjunctive, and behold. It is very good. We should change this to is so that it agrees with imperfect over here. There's actually no verb here. This is the verb to be inserted here as customary in Hebrew by equivocation. Again, we have the atrocious translation in the King James Version, where the verb has been rendered past tense and moved out of its place 2 times, so we're going to have to rearrange this whole verse. Then, put the verb back in. It is, delete the improper the, then it is evening, then it is evening, period, then it is daybreak, the 6th day. So we see that between the evening and the daybreak is the night period during which nothing was created. Definite article here, the 6th day. That points up the fact that the 6th day here actually ended at daybreak because it's a calendar day. Now, I want you to notice something here. Then the Almighty sees everything that he had made, and behold, it is very good. This statement, the wav consecutive, after then it is so, occurs before it says, then it is evening. The reasoning then is that he saw everything, or he sees everything that he had made, perfect, had made everything. This means that he completed all his work before the evening of the 6th day, and he did nothing on the night of the 6th day. This shows us that the ordinary rest of the night of the 6th day was extended into the Sabbath on the 7th day. Okay, now I would like to extend the translation of Genesis 1:31 into Genesis chapter 2. The purpose here is to find out when the Almighty finished his work. As I already pointed out, he finished his work before the sun went down on the 6th day. Again, we have a wav consecutive here. Thus should be translated then, as in then next. We should reorder this into the Hebrew order. Here we go. Then are caused to be finished the heavens and the earth, and all the host of them. Another wav consecutive here. But the verb is in the Pual, which is a passive form of the Piel. The Piel stem is awesome stative. It describes a state. Since it's passive, this is describing a state of being finished. Then are caused to be finished the heavens and the earth. Or we could translate this, made to be finished. Made to be finished. In this case, the English makes a little bit better sense if we take out the complication of the Pual. Then are finished the heavens and the earth, and all the hosts of them. This is not saying the point in time at which they were finished. It is saying they were in a state of being finished. So it's true to the wav consecutive. As we see, that he actually saw everything that he had made in the previous verse. So obviously, logically, it had to be finished when he saw everything. So this wav consecutive is just describing a state. Then are finished using a passive, and all the hosts of them. And on the 7th day, the Almighty ended his work, for God ended his work which he had made. This clause stands in contradiction to the implication of this clause, because we see he did not actually end his work on the 7th day. he ended the work on the sixth day when he saw it and then he saw everything that he had made. This Hebrew here is very subtle, which we will correct in a minute, caused the Septuagint and the Samaritan Pentatuech translators to trip up in their translations. They changed the seventh day to the sixth day in order to make it agree with this verse. But we will see that this is not necessary if we understand the subtlety of the Hebrew of this verse. First, let's put the wav consecutive in and reorder the verse to the Hebrew order. Alright, here is the correction. Then the Almighty declared to be finished on the seventh day his work, which he had done. We see that we have a perfect at the end of the verse. He had done. This refers to his work on the day part of the sixth day, declared to be finished. This is a Piel, which is usually translated made to be finished. But the subtlety of the Piel here is that it means declared to be finished. It's a rare declarative Piel. I will show you an example of this Piel in a context where the meaning cannot be denied. When the priest pronounces someone unclean, he's using a declarative Piel. Literally translation would be to make him to be unclean. However, the priest is not making the man unclean. He's only declaring a fact that is already the case before the person comes to the priest to be observed. He is already unclean. The priest is only declaring him unclean. Wetime oto, and he will have declared him to be unclean. Verb tame, piel, perfect. So this is a declarative piel. So using the same precedent here, we could translate it, then the Almighty pronounced to be finished on the seventh day his work which he had done. This subtlety of Hebrew using the declarative Piel solves the problem that tripped up the Septuagint and the Samaritan Pentatuech translators. He's only declaring to be so something that is already so. This also has implications further on in the text here with the word sanctified for the Shabbat that we will see. So now I finished up verse 2. Then he is resting on the seventh day from all his work which he has done. I translated the imperfect present progressive here to show that consecutive is giving us a snapshot of what was happening then. So it is in sequence. Although he is resting here, he is also resting here. This is how the wav consecutive works. It gives us a snapshot then next of something that is true at that point in time. Clearly the resting began before the seventh day, but what it is recording is the fact that he is resting at this point in time from all his work which he had done. Again, the perfect points back to what happened before he saw everything that he made, and behold, it is very good. Let us now look at this phrase here. This again is another declarative piel. So with that in mind, let's put a literal translation here. Alright, I overlooked a correction here. The imperfect should be present tense. Then the Almighty declares, not declared, declares to be finished on the seventh day his work which he had done. Then he is resting on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. Then the Almighty is making to be blessed the seventh day. Then he declares it to be holy, because in it he had rested from all his work which the Almighty had made to do. Again we have a declarative piel here with the word holy, kadosh. Then he declares it to be holy, because in it he had rested. We have a perfect here, had rested. This implied that he declared it so after he finished resting at the end of the day. He declared it holy, which implies that every subsequent Shabbat was also holy, not just the first Shabbat after creation, from all his work which the Almighty had made to do. This is an infinitive construct at the end here, and had made to do suggests the idea of planned for making to do. In other words, he finished everything he had planned to make. Possibly the two uses of Almighty here are an interaction of the Father and the Son. Finally, Genesis 2:4a ends the first account of creation. Let us make some corrections here. These are the histories of the heavens and of the earth during their creation. This statement is called a colophon, one of the Toledot passages. The word Toledot, rather than meaning generations, means histories, more dynamically, histories of the generations, of the beginnings, of the begettings of the heavens and the earth during their creation. The colophon comes customarily at the end of an account and not at the beginning of it. It's like its author signing off, summarizing what the account is about. We will see that Genesis 2:4b, which I do not have here yet, starts the next account of creation. I have split up Genesis 4a, which is the colophon that goes on the end of the first account, and Genesis 4b, which begins the next account. The second account of creation begins like the first account. It begins with the word in, and then an infinitive construct phrase. In the day of making of Yahweh Almighty, dynamically by Yahweh Almighty, earth and heavens. This is the object of the phrase, so we should probably put the word of in here, just to clarify. In the day of making by Yahweh Almighty of earth and heavens and every shrub of the field, and so on. The passage continues down to another wav consecutive, like the structure of Genesis 1:1 through 3. So this begins the second account of creation, and we can clearly see from the contents of the passage that the word day here is being used in the sense of time, because it comprehends the activity of the 6 days of creation. And in fact, it brings us up to the 6th day of creation and the creation of man by the end of this paragraph.